Welcome back to the Dear Monday podcast. I'm your host, TuRhonda Freeman. So glad you are here. I want to talk to you about a specific kind of waiting today. Not the kind where you're still figuring things out, not the kind where the research isn't done or the numbers don't add up. I want to talk about the kind where you already know, you've known for a while, and you're still here. If you're planning a career exit, if you've ever been silently building the off ramp, running the numbers in the margins of your morning, waiting for the right moment to make your move, this episode is for you. I call her Allison. She's the career exit architect. She's still employed, still performing the role with precision, still showing up to planning meetings for a version of her career she's already decided to not have. She has a plan, but she's still inside. And if that's you, if any part of that lands, I want you to stay with me. Here's what I want to identify first. And I want you to really sit with this. There is a version of waiting that is responsible, and there is a version of waiting that becomes the risk itself. The responsible version of waiting is building something. The timeline is moving toward a specific defined endpoint. Real things are accumulating: runway, readiness, a foundation for what comes next. When the condition is met, she moves. The version that becomes the risk looks identical from the outside. It's the same language, same logic, same legitimacy. But the endpoint keeps moving. The condition is always almost met. I have a question for you. It's a real question. Are you still being patient, or are you avoiding the irreversible? Here's what I mean by that. You see this exit? It is a one-way door. When you think about your title, your income, your credibility, the structure that has moved you through this world, that version of you, when you leave, it is gone. Not pause, not on hold, it is gone. And I have watched people, I've sit across the table from them, and they have made this exact same decision. The closer that they get to that door, the conditions seem to shift. It becomes more real, and just real enough to where the situation always seems to find a reason to change their condition. And here's what I've watched happen. Sitting across from people in this position more times than I can count, the closer the door gets, the more the conditions shift. Not reasons appear, new reasons appear, real reasons, just real enough to wait for. Not because the situation changed, because the door got closer. So I want you to ask yourself honestly, when did the condition last move? And what actually changed when it did? Or was it that the irreversibility got closer and the condition moved to keep pace with the irreversibility? Here's what the extended timeline is actually costing you. And I want to be honest about this because it lives on a ledger that's easy to ignore. It's the window. Your exit window is not permanent. Right now, you have leverage, you have standing. You can negotiate the terms of your departure, how it's framed, when it's announced, while you still have standing to negotiate. That doesn't increase with tenure. And the story you get to tell about this exit, it has shape. You can say, I built something significant and I'm ready for the next chapter. That story lands differently depending on when you tell it. The financial cost. See, you've mapped the income gap. That's good. But there's another number you may not be counting. Every month you stay is a month you're not compounding on the other side. The equity, client relationships, the revenue base of the thing that you're building toward. That number doesn't show up in a paycheck, which makes it easier to not see. I want you to count that number. And then there's the identity cost. And this one is sneaky because it's sneaky, but also significant. I want to ask you, can you tolerate becoming a beginner again? Not in theory, but in practice. After years of building expertise and earning credibility, after becoming someone who moves with fluency inside a system that recognizes you, the work on the other side of the exit does not recognize you yet. It does not reward you yet. It does not respond to you the way your current environment does. You will not be as efficient. You will not be as certain. You will not be as affirmed. Not because you've lost something, but because you're building something that hasn't learned you yet. So the question isn't whether you have the ambition to leave. Most people in your position do. It's whether you have the appetite for the phase that the building phase is going to require after you immediately leave. So here are 4 questions that I want to ask you, and I want you to ask yourself. First, does the condition for leaving have a specific fixed endpoint? Or has it been described in terms that could keep moving? Things like when the timing is right, or when I feel ready, when things stabilize. If any of that sounds familiar, that's a moving condition. That's not strategy. Second, is the waiting producing something material for the exit, or is it producing income and stability? Those are not the same things. Third, has the exit plan itself evolved, or is it in the same place that it was? When you look back over the last 18 months, is it the same plan, or has it been absorbed by your current role? Number 4, when you imagine this exit, what is the primary feeling? Is it excitement about where you're going, or is it relief about what you're leaving? We're not looking for consensus across all 4, but we're looking for a signal. I want you to think about those 4 questions. Just one of them is enough. Here's what I want to leave you with today. If you've waited longer than optimal, that's not a failure, it's just information. And that's useful information. But I want you to use that to make your exit structurally sound. Here's the thing. At some point, the timeline stops being something that happens to you, and it becomes something that you choose. You name a specific endpoint, a real specific endpoint, one that doesn't move because the irreversibility got closer, and you hold that endpoint. The patience has been real. The plan has been real. The question this episode is asking you to answer honestly is whether the patience is still serving the plan, or whether it has started serving the weight of the door that you're facing. And only you can answer that. If you're in this position, if you're close to an exit and you haven't fully mapped what it actually exposes, our decision exposure review is the conversation that begins here. Not to validate the exit, but to examine it in its current terms. The real financial gap, the window that's available right now, the conditions that need to be true for the exit to be structurally sound, and what changes if those conditions aren't in place when you move. Independently, without a stake in whether you go forward. Before the exit, not after. I want you to go to www.dearmonday.co. Clarity before commitment. Coming up next, we go back to Erin. She's been close to a franchise commitment for a while now. And the question she's carrying now has shifted. It's not, should I do this anymore? It's something deeper. And in some ways, it's a harder question. Do you actually want the life or just the decision? That's episode 8. I'll see you there.